In 1863, the jury's selection for the annual government-sponsored art exhibition in Paris, the Salon, caused an uproar. Around 3,000 submissions had been rejected.
More than half of the works considered have been rejected.
The jury must be too arbitrary.
The complaints reached the ear of Emperor Napoleon III.
These are excellent works. No wonder the artist complained about the rejection. Let's see, how about exhibiting these rejected works and letting the public judge for themselves?
The emperor decreed that the works could be exhibited in another part of the building, and the Salon of the Refused was born.
What the hell is it? This one is such a joke, it even lacks the basic sense of stereography.
It's the degradation of art. Ha-ha! How could he paint a nude woman seated with two well-dressed men?
It's immoral.
French painter Edouard Manet's Le Déjeuner sur l'air was one of the works exhibited. It shocked the public and was denounced as the degradation of art.
However, the Louvre Museum had many paintings of nudes with clothed figures, such as Pastoral Concert by Renaissance painter Giorgione, which did not scandalize the public. Therefore, the real reason for the hostility wasn't one of morality. It was because most of the viewers were accustomed to seeing highly polished neoclassical paintings of historical subjects. The shock and disgust were due to Manet's innovative method of painting and subjects, which broke with tradition. Manet presented images of contemporary people and life in strong colors and broad brushwork. He rejected the single vanishing point in favor of natural perspective, and his apparently incomplete subjects deliberately subverted classical ideals. His influential body of work bridges the gap between realism and impressionism.
Manet's works are the revolution of sight.
He has cast off the academic restraints on painting techniques. His manner is bold and original.
Manet's work was an important influence on the Impressionist painters as they explored the play of light and color in their sketchy-looking paintings. The main Impressionists were Claude Monet, Edouard Manet, Camille Pissarro, Pierre-Auguste Renoir, Alfred Sisley, Edgar Degas, Berthe Morisot, Mary Cassatt, and Jean-Frédéric Basile. 2 years later, Olympia, another giant painting by Manet, also caused a scandal.
The pose of Manet's nude recalls Titian's Venus of Urbino, but Manet's nude is not an allegorical or mythical figure, but very distinctly a naked common woman. Manet was good at adapting famous works of his predecessors and presenting them in a modern way.
There's an interesting story about the female model for Le Déjeuner sur l'herbe and Olympia. Her name was Victorine Moiront. Manet saw the 18-year-old musician Moiront on the street in Paris. He was attracted by her unusual look and invited her to be his model.
Is she the woman in Olympia?
Mm-hmm.
In Normandy.
See, Monet is drawing again.
He became known in the community for his charcoal caricatures of local people.
Monet, what are you doing over there? Give me that. Oh, isn't he the...
The fellow at the port.
Yes, you are right. It's really like him.
Monet often consigned his works for sale at an art supply shop.
I have 2 new works today.
Good! Monet, let me introduce you to a painter. This is Eugène Boudin.
Your works are really interesting, Monet, but you should not be satisfied with these.
Boudin was a landscape painter. He became Monet's mentor and taught him to use oil paints.
You should paint outdoors more often. Nature is our best teacher. Things you paint en plein air convey energy and life which you can't find in things you paint inside in a studio.
In 1859, Monet moved to Paris and started to study painting officially.
Nice to meet you. I'm Monet from Le Havre.
Well, well, make yourself at home, or we'll take you as our painting model.
He became acquainted with many painters here.
Your painting is very peculiar. I am Renoir, and these are my friends.
My name is Basile.
And I'm Sisley. I like your painting very much.
What? You paint your oil paintings outdoors? I want to try en plein air too.
Yeah, it's very exciting.
Benoit, wait for me!
Everyone was very interested in the plein air, open-air techniques for painting, which Monet had learned from Boudin. One by one, they started to paint en plein air in the Fontainebleau forest. And because Manet was becoming influential, young painters started to gather around him, absorbing his avant-garde ideas.
We want to create modern paintings.
I believe no one can find a simpler way than Manet did to get such an intense effect.
In addition to Monet, Renoir, Pissarro and novelist Émile Zola were in this circle. They often hung out and discussed art at the Café Gorbois.
Renoir, I decided not to mix colors on my palette. The color always gets a bit muddy after mixing.
I don't understand.
For example, if I want to paint something orange, I can paint a brush of red and a brush of yellow next to it. We just need to step back a few steps and we can see a spot of natural orange color.
I see. This way we can get the most vivid color effects for our paintings.
It's not significant when you look closely, but the effect of light appears more natural concerning the whole composition. We just paint every color as spots or strokes instead of painting the whole surface the same color.
And we don't need black for shade. By combining spots and strokes of different colors, we can create a transparency of color.
This technique for color use became the most significant feature of Impressionism. Frustrated with the continual rejection of their works from the official salons, a group of 30 artists in Paris, including Monet, Renoir and Pissarro, joined together to hold their own exhibition in 1874, calling themselves the Anonymous Society of Painters, Sculptors, Engravers. This exhibition became the first independent exhibition of Impressionist paintings. The exhibition was greeted with curiosity and confusion by the public, and derision from the popular press. Monet exhibited his impression, Sunrise, a painting of a sunrise in the morning mist at Le Havre port. Critic Louis Leroy wrote a review in the newspaper Le Charivari, sneering at many works in the exhibition. Seizing on the title of Monet's seascape, Leroy entitled his scathing article, Exhibition of the Impressionists. The movement had found its name.
Khi có tuổi, bạn có nguy cơ bị mất đến 20% xương và 29% cơ. Uống Enin 3 khỏe chứa đạm canxi collagen, giúp cơ xương khớp chắc khỏe. Uống Enin 3 khỏe, tôi khỏe hơn tuổi của tôi.
Nổ bùng nhân trái cây với Peppermint Plus. Peppermint Plus nổ nhân siêu đã.
Hay tụi bay, kẹo giữ Chupa Chups mới nè, thử xem sao nha.
Vui hơn với kẹo dẻo Chupa Chups Sour Bites mới. Chupa Chups mãi vui.
Captain Pincode and the Kikoriki crew are here! Are you ready? Blast off! Don't be scared. You're part of the Kikoriki crew now. Pincode on Da Vinci.
Time to say goodbye to civilization. I'm ready to rock and roll.
Let's go to work, boys.
The wilderness is the unexpected.
Yeah!
It's going to be an epic adventure one way or the other.
It's crazy out here.
That is perfect.
Holy cow!
Could it get any better? I don't think so. Chào em.
Chào em. Mentos Fresh Action cực sảng khoái. Mentos phá băng khoảng cách.
Dạ.
Sữa đậu nành Family Canxi mới tăng cường 8 dưỡng chất, giúp chất khỏe xương, tăng cường sức khỏe.
Monet used to claim, "What I try to depict is the impression before it fades away." These young painters did capture the impression of the objects they depicted. The term Impressionism quickly gained favor with the public. The term was so well known and understood by 1877 that the artists themselves used it as the title for their third exhibition. Impressionist artists advocated leaving the studio and going out into the fields, the countryside, or the streets. They observed the environments in the open air and recorded their impressions of the change of light and atmosphere through color on their canvases. Their creation cast off the traditional painting conventions of narrative form. In other words, they painted something just to display the effect of colors.
Nice to see you. You are all on plein air today.
This was a revolution in art. The Impressionists captured fleeting moments of modern life in sketchy, colorful ways. This was a definite break with accepted subject matter and practice. Impressionism spread throughout Europe and the USA. Their paintings are still some of those most cherished today. In 1883, Monet moved to Giverny, a small village northwest of Paris. About this time, the initial circle of Impressionist painters began to break up. Monet's works were becoming valued by the public, and he began to work with the official salon. Others, like Renoir and Degas, began to explore and develop their own artistic styles. By the 8th and final Impressionist exhibition in 1886, the Impressionists had completed their mission of revolutionizing art. Although every Impressionist painter emphasized light and colors instead of the elaboration of the form of an object, they all had their individual style and subjects. Monet continued to explore his interest in the atmosphere that light creates around an object. These transient light effects can be seen in a series which portrays the same subject at different times of the day, year, and climate. Towards the end of his life from 1914 to 1923, Monet devoted himself to 8 huge water lily canvases. Together, they create an environment which entirely surrounds the viewer. Meanwhile, Pissarro and Sisley devoted themselves to depicting the poetic tone of rural landscapes as Jean-Baptiste Camille Corot had before them. Camille Pissarro devoted his whole life to observing and recording different views of nature. Paul Cézanne used to say that Pissarro was one of the painters who were closest to nature. Alfred Sisley was also a painter who loved nature and was good at observing and exploring it. Pissarro considered Sisley to be the purest Impressionist painter. Although Auguste Renoir painted landscapes with Monet in the late 1860s, his primary interest was always the human figure. His greatest contribution to Impressionism was to imply Impressionist treatment of light, color, and movement to subjects such as crowd scenes, nudes, and portraits. Edgar Degas showed in 7 of the 8 Impressionist group exhibitions, but he always considered himself a realist, claiming no art was ever less spontaneous than mine. He learned from Impressionist practice how to use light to convey a sense of volume and movement in his work. He went to cafes, theaters, circuses, racetracks, and the ballet in search of his subject matter. After sketching in front of a scene, he would continue work back in his studio. There were also a handful of excellent female painters who exhibited with the Impressionists, such as Berthe Morisot, who was Manet's sister-in-law. She is known for her domestic scenes of middle-class life. American Mary Cassatt was another. She was introduced by Degas to the Impressionists and became famous for her portraits. The impact of the Impressionists cannot be overestimated. Their actions and experiments symbolize the rejection of artistic traditions, and the valued judgments of criticism and future avant-garde movements would follow their example and take a stand for artistic freedom and innovation. While the Impressionists were revolutionizing painting, a genius sculptor, Auguste Rodin, was to do the same for sculpture. His romance with Camille didn't end well. Camille suffered being compared to Michelangelo and is now recognized